3 shocking heavens in the Bible, the dark truth that will haunt you forever. In the deepest corners of myth and scripture, 3 heavens lie shrouded in unfathomable mystery, each one more chilling than the last. What if the heavens you've known were merely a facade, hiding a darkness that will claw at your soul? This isn't just an abstract concept, it's a terrifying vortex of intrigue and horror, straight from the pages of the Bible, waiting to be unwrapped. Feel the tug at your heart as you journey through this uncanny realm, where every twist throws shadows over the light of day. The first shocking heaven is the one most people overlook, the most bizarre of all, a place called the heaven of suffering. Imagine a realm emptied of joy, where the cries of lost souls echo like haunting whispers. Believe it or not, those who've visited this despairing dimension speak of chilling winds that sweep through barren landscapes, chilling them to the bone. They describe the color of the sky, a murky ash gray, heavy with the weight of eternal sorrow. There is a suffocating stillness that wraps around you like a thick fog, making your chest tighten as you realize the dead air carries the weight of unconfessed sins. It's a vision that makes your hair stand on end, heart seized in terror, gasps of despair hanging in the air, and yet, the questions linger: what drives these souls to this tormented place? Then comes the heaven of temptation, a glittering, seductive trap draped in jewels and gold. But don't be fooled. It beckons you not with sweet melodies but with the twisted laughter of demons disguised as angels. They whisper promises of power, pleasure, and wealth, dragging even the purest hearts into darkness. People return from this place changed, their eyes wide with fear and secret knowledge. The thrill of their newfound desires collides with guilt and despair. It's intoxicating yet terrifying, a roller coaster of sinful highs and crashing lows. This heaven, it turns out, reeks of a false paradise, making you squirm in your seat as you grapple with whether freedom is an illusion. Will you give in? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Finally, we arrive at the darkest twist, the heaven of forgotten truths. This is where reality becomes a nightmare. It's a place where ancient wisdom gathers dust in the shadows, screaming for attention, begging to be rediscovered. Imagine wandering through a library where every book contains forgotten knowledge, their titles tattered and pages yellowed, yet every touch sends tremors of dread down your spine. What hidden horrors lay behind their covers? People have returned from here with sweat-soaked brows and trembling hands, tormented by the truths they uncover but cannot comprehend. The air grows heavy with fear as the revelation sinks in. Some truths are best left buried. What could they have discovered that we're not meant to know? As the stories swirl in your mind, one burning question remains: are these heavens a warning or a welcome? The answer may be more shocking than you can imagine. The air grew heavier, a weight that pressed down on the chest as shadows deepened at the edge of comprehension. Somewhere, in the distance, an eerie whisper echoed, stirring memories of the truths that lay untouched at the back of the mind. What if the forgotten wisdom held more than mere tales? What if it served as a door, an invitation into madness? The seekers, the ones brave enough to delve into the heaven of forgotten truths, felt it pulse around them as they navigated the labyrinthine shelves of dust-covered tomes. Each book held murky secrets, tales of the past that begged for acknowledgement. But what if they unleashed horrors unbeknownst to the world? What if knowledge wasn't the power they craved, but a poison that could dissolve the very fabric of sanity? In hushed tones, they spoke of the dark forces keenly aware of the truth-seekers. Eyes in the shadows, watching with insidious glee. Could there be something lurking inside those pages, twisting tales of salvation into grotesque nightmares? One person, Sarah, emerged from the library gasping, her breath alternating between sobs and wild laughter. "You've got to listen," she gasped, her eyes wide-pupilled, glistening with a manic sheen. "What did you find?" a friend asked, hesitating at the threshold, a bead of sweat trickling down her back. A forgotten prophecy, Sarah shivered. It spoke of a reckoning, a point where truths collide with lies. A moment that will turn this world upside down. The chill of her words hung heavy, creeping under the skin. People around her exchanged anxious glances, sharing fears that roamed unspoken. What if the prophecies foretold a wave of chaos so vast that it would shake the very foundations of their lives? What if the revelations dug out of the shadows unraveled their quiet existences? But she continued, breathless, consumed by something unseen. We're missing the signs. We're blind to the whispers. Her words tumbled forth like a chaotic stream. The more we ignore it, the closer it pulls, the more it haunts us. Rumors began to swirl. The idea of a heaven that brought terror instead of relief left faces pale, voices jittery. They all felt it, the world spinning toward some dark, unavoidable cliff edge. A growing dread filled every moment, timing its steps with their own heartbeats. In the midst of the chaos, the whispers intensified, urging each individual to confront their deepest fears. Each action took on a new urgency. What if all this was foreshadowing reckoning? What if the forgotten knowledge was a key to salvation, or merely a curse waiting to be unleashed? As anxiety gripped them, they were faced with a chilling decision: to risk confronting the haunting truth or bury themselves in blissful ignorance, forever shielded from the dark knowledge that awaited. A freeze framed the moment. A lifeline dangled before them, tantalizing yet terrifying, and then, amidst the turmoil, a piercing scream cut through the air, a sound so raw and chilling that it silenced all thoughts. They turned in horror, eyes darting toward the source. Shadows danced in the depths, hinting that something, or someone, was waiting in the darkness. Fear intertwined with curiosity as the question loomed larger: what awaited them in that blackened space? Would they dare to step closer? Or would they flee from the chilling embrace of truth, forever haunted by the unknown? The moment of reckoning was approaching. Would they be able to uncover the darkness, or would it consume them first? The answer was near. The scream faded into an eerie silence, like a whisper snatched away by the wind. Sarah's eyes darted, reflecting a wild mix of terror and adrenaline. She stepped back, stumbling over the edge of a crumpled book that lay forgotten on the ground. Her heart thudded violently in her chest, drowning out the sounds of the others shifting nervously around her. What was that? Someone finally dared to utter, breaking the heavy quiet. It was Mike, his voice quaking like a leaf in a storm. The gaze of everyone fell upon the dark corridor where the scream had erupted. I don't know, Sarah replied, her breath coming in ragged bursts. But we need to find out. A wavering light spilled from the flickering bulbs overhead, casting elongated shadows across the shelves. They moved as one, drawn inexplicably toward the source of the cry, despite the gnawing instinct urging them to run. Each step melded dread with intrigue, curiosity igniting an unsettling spark. As they crept deeper, the temperature dropped, almost numbing their fingers. The library felt alive, its breath thick with secrets just waiting to be unearthed. Dark books loomed, their spines cracked and brittle, teasing them with the promise of forbidden knowledge. Could this be the very fate they wanted, to challenge the consuming grasp of the dark and unknown? I think we should stop, whispered Jenna, her eyes wide. This isn't right, but it was too late. They had come too far into the belly of the beast. Just as they rounded a particularly dark corner, another scream shattered the stillness, a jagged, frantic cry that echoed deep into the recesses of the library. This time, the sound was followed by unsettling movement, as if something unseen lurked just beyond their sight. Raising her voice to be heard above the pounding panic, Sarah shouted, "We can't turn back now. We have to face whatever this is. It's our only chance to uncover the truth." She felt the weight of her own words, heavy with consequence, but driven by a strange compulsion that was almost magnetic. Each person stood frozen, to flee or to advance. An unspoken bond of dread held them tethered, as if the air itself was guiding their decision. Sarah took a trembling step forward, her resolve flickering, but ignited again with each timid breath. Before long, they stumbled upon a small, dimly lit alcove, the walls lined with torn and tattered manuscripts, ancient relics of long-buried knowledge. In the center of the room stood an altar, blood-stained and carved with symbols that twisted into mesmerizing patterns. A figure slowly emerged from the shadows, a silhouette, seemingly human yet radiating an otherworldly aura. "Why do you seek the truth?" it hissed, its voice an eerie melody that harmonized with the stagnant air. "Are you prepared for the consequences?" Fear gripped their hearts, the prophecy came rushing back to Sarah. This was it, the reckoning she had spoken of. A moment of collision where truths became judgments and knowledge turned to chains. Sarah stuttered, battling back the terror. Then, almost instinctively, she stepped forward. "We have to know. We deserve to know." Suddenly, everything shifted. The shadows danced wildly, and the whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar. Knowledge surged forward, threatening to envelop them, threatening to split their reality at the seams. Would they embrace this dark truth, even as it threatened to shatter them? Or would they cower and relent, allowing fear to bind them to ignorance forever? A light flashed as though it were a bolt of lightning striking, and the world around them went silent, drawing them into an abyss that pulsed with unyielding promises and horrific secrets. In that moment of suspension, one question loomed vast over their senses: was salvation worth the price of their sanity? The darkness beckoned, and Sarah could feel it alive, ready to swallow them whole. This reckoning had merely begun. The air filled with a tangible weight, a press of unseen forces that held them in a tight embrace. Shadows morphed and twisted, and with every heartbeat, the oppressive atmosphere narrowed around Sarah and her friends. The figure at the altar shimmered for a heartbeat, a flicker of humanity beneath layers of foreboding darkness. What do you want from us?" Mike's voice trembled more than ever, laced with desperation. The figure tilted its head, as if savoring the fear washing over them. "What I want," it intoned softly, "is irrelevant. It is what you want that matters. The truth demands a price, a sacrifice. Choose wisely or lose everything." With those final words, the air crackled. A profound silence settled in, heavy like a stone. Sarah could feel her throat tighten, as if the walls themselves were closing in. The flickering light cast ghastly shadows across their faces, a gallery of horror-stricken expressions. Jenna pressed her back against the cool stone wall, her eyes wild. "What sacrifice? Are we supposed to give up someone? Is that it?" "Sacrifice means more than blood," the entity hissed, eyes glimmering with something like mischief. "Are you prepared to give up your innocence, your sanity, even your very soul?" The floor around them rumbled, sending shivers up Sarah's spine. She glanced at her friends, seeing the turmoil mirrored in their eyes. Each second stretched into an eternity, heavy with the weight of unspeakable choices. Suddenly, Jenna gasped, looking past Sarah, fear gripping her voice. "Oh no, it's coming." Instinctively, they turned as an icy draft swept through the alcove. A book ancient, bound in leather, and marred by time fluttered open as if pushed by an unseen hand. Pages turned rapidly, whipping through scripts and symbols, blurring into an indecipherable frenzy. The eerie whispers roared back to life, overwhelming in their fervor. "Sarah, we need to stop this." Mike shouted over the chaos, glancing wide-eyed at the altar. But the words felt muted, swallowed by the tempest brewing around them. "No!" Sarah cried, reaching for the book. "It's calling to me, we can't leave." She felt the call of the unknown, a siren song that both terrified and enchanted her. Was this knowledge worth the risk? A tremor surged through the ground, unmooring them. Dark tendrils snaked up from beneath, racing in frantic patterns across the floor. They were alive, pulsing with a sinister intent. As Sarah struggled to maintain her balance, a sharp cry pierced through the primal noise. It was Jenna, her face frozen in horror as she pointed towards the shadows. "It's trying to take me. Help!" Sarah's heart raced, pounding wildly in her chest. Jenna fell back against the wall, her fingers clawing in desperation as the shadowy hands reached for her. Without thinking, Sarah lunged towards her friend, but Mike grabbed her arm, jerking her back with panic-stricken eyes. "If you touch her, it will take you too," he warned, his voice hoarse, looking at her as if she were standing on the edge of an abyss. In that fraught moment, everything felt surreal. Jenna cried out again, her voice a blend of terror and pleading. She was slipping from their grasp. Was it even possible to save her, or would their attempts lead them all deeper into the void? The tightness in Sarah's chest turned to raw fear. She could either abandon Jenna and return to safety or consider that dark voice's demand embrace a truth that might unravel them all. A deafening burst of sound erupted from the shadows, cutting through their indecision. The entity stood taller now, its form swirling with darkness, eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Choose," it commanded. Time hung suspended. Suddenly, the library felt like both a sanctuary and a prison, filled with the echoes of past secrets. What truth were they willing to sacrifice everything for? Sarah stood, heart racing, thoughts churning violently. In this moment, she knew this was not just about Jenna. It was about them all, and the darkness that threatened to consume them. And then, in the maddening silence that followed, Sarah whispered, "I choose," but the wind roared, and the shadows surged with insatiable hunger, ready to claim their final offer as the darkness awaited its next victim. What would Sarah choose? The answer loomed, dark and compelling, as reality began to fracture. The world blurred, swallowed by shadows that clawed at reality itself. Jenna's screams echoed in the chamber, a haunting reminder of the choice spinning out of control. Sarah stood frozen, her heart pounding, caught in the eye of a storm. I choose Jenna." The words spilled from her lips without a second thought, charged by desperation that a moment of silence stretched before the darkness reacted. The tendrils recoiled, momentarily retreating. Jenna gasped, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. But the entity, unmoved, let out a laugh that resonated through the very marrow of their bones. "Choice and sacrifice intertwine like the hands of fate," it taunted, "but know this: whatever you choose, the price is steep." The shadows surged, wrapping around Jenna, drawing her deeper into their twisted embrace. Panic surged in Sarah's veins. Was this truly the only way? "Stop! Let her go!" Mike shouted, his voice straining. His fists clenched, desperation morphing into anger. "No!" Jenna cried, her voice laced with both fear and defiance. "Don't make it worse. I don't want you to suffer for me." But the darkness tightened its grip, and Jenna began to shimmer, her form wavering like a mirage in the desert. Tears pooled in Mike's eyes as he let go of Sarah's arm and lunged towards Jenna, but the shadows lashed out, pushing him back with a force that sent him crashing to the floor. "Foolishness," the entity hissed, its words echoing off the stone walls like a sinister wind. "True sacrifice requires faith. What will you offer to seal your choice?" Sarah felt a chill scrape against her skin, her resolve hardening against the pervasive dread. She knew there was a line they could not cross. "No. You don't need a sacrifice. Let us go." The figure tilted its head, eyes gleaming with sick satisfaction. "And why would I do that? Fear is a potent ally, and it has never been so sweet. Choose another, something that binds you not through blood but through misery. Choose your very essence." Calling upon the depths of her spirit, Sarah felt fury rise. The shadows around her sparked and flickered, each pulse echoing her heartbeat. "I refuse to play your sick game. If Jenna goes, then I go with her." With those words, the shadows froze, the oppressive atmosphere thickening in response. The entity seemed taken aback, wavering momentarily. The whispers fell silent. "What did you say?" "I said that if you take her, you take me too," Sarah shouted, her voice echoing against the stone. A surge of reckless bravery coursed through her. Jenna looked at Sarah, disbelief and gratitude flashing on her face. "No, Sarah. Don't." But it was too late. The shadows reacted, swirling furiously around Sarah. Energy crackled like static, causing the air to hum. She felt the warmth of Jenna's hand and anchor in the tempest. Together. Jenna shouted, her own fear morphing into fierce determination. As their fingers intertwined, an unseen force lifted them off the ground. The shrieks of the entity reverberated through the chamber, more a howl of rage than pain. Arms of darkness reached for them, desperate to pull them apart, to shred the bond they formed. In that moment, time distorted and eternity stretched before them as a blinding light surged from their connection, illuminating the swirling shadows. The ground trembled under the weight of their fragile unity. "Hold on!" Sarah yelled, feeling the ground shift beneath her, the entity's power threatening to tear them asunder. But just as the beam of light intensified, the shadows recoiled with terror, revealing cracks in their icy grip, a flicker of something hopeful within the chaos. Something deeper awaited them, truths long buried that could either save or obliterate them. What lay behind the veil of darkness? As the shadows thrashed, they felt themselves being pulled into the light, a tapestry of twisted destinies unraveling around them. And amidst the chaos, the entity's final words rang out, chilling their very souls, "You've just begun to uncover your true selves, but be warned, what you discover will haunt you forever." What was waiting for them on the other side? Each heartbeat resonated with uncertainty as they plunged deeper into the unknown. The blinding light swallowed them whole, and for a moment, they felt nothing. It was as if their souls were suspended in an infinite expanse, drifting through a cosmos devoid of sound and sensation. But then came the rush, a torrent of images, memories, and raw emotions crashing down upon them like waves in a relentless storm. "Sarah! Jenna!" A voice echoed, twisting in and out of focus. It sounded like Mike, but the urgency in his tone was transformed, fraught with panic and desperation. They found themselves back in the chamber, but now the shadows had shifted. No longer just a dark mass, they flickered with colors, twisted and monstrous, alive with an energy that was both chaotic and mesmerizing. The entity loomed large, its form now shifting between grotesque shapes and faces, embodying the fears they had tried to flee. "Welcome," it hissed, its voice a blend of mocking delight and fierce fury. "Welcome to the true essence of yourselves." In that moment of raw revelation, Sarah felt her insides twist. Memories flooded back, moments she thought she had buried deep. The betrayal she endured, the loneliness that choked her, all laid bare for the entity to dissect. The whispers grew louder, biting at the edges of her sanity. "Stop it! You're lying!" Jenna screamed, her eyes darting around, searching for familiar faces amid the nightmare. But as each of their darkest moments unspooled before them, doubt wormed its way into Sarah's mind. What if the entity was right? What if their very souls were marred by hidden truths they could no longer deny? "Feed on your pain, embrace the shadows." It roared, its voice distorting in a maddening crescendo. The beauty and horror of their pasts merged, swirling like a tornado, drawing them closer to despair. "No, no," Sarah murmured, shaking her head as though to erase the memories assaulting her. She caught sight of Jenna, her friend's face twisted in terror. "We can fight this. We have to fight this." "But how?" Jenna's voice quivered. "It knows us. It's using our fears against us." As the shadows surged, a flicker of light emerged from Jenna's grasp, pulsing alongside the sound of Sarah's heart. It was their bond, a lifeline amidst the storm, and as they held on tighter, vibrant memories fought back against their fears. Molly laughing, sleepovers filled with whispers, moments of bravery shared that were brighter than the bleakness surrounding them. "Dare to believe!" Sarah shouted, her voice stronger now, slicing through the shadows. "We've conquered worse. Together, we can do this." With that rallying cry, the light around them intensified, forging a barrier born from love and friendship. The shadows writhed angrily, clawing at the brilliance breaking through, each betrayal and fear they had festered retreating under the blinding glow. "Do you really think you can escape me?" The entity bellowed, its form quaking as it attempted to regain control. "Each step forward reveals a new wound. Your souls are stained." But within that swirling chaos, Sarah felt hope spark anew. The tendrils of truth turned from weapon into shield, revealing not just their pain but also their strength, resilience, and unyielding bond. Let go of what shouldn't be ours. Jenna cried, and together, they pushed against the shadows. The entity shrieked as the light engulfed them, the pain they had endured transforming into a blinding beacon. As they surged forward, the darkness peeled away, revealing an entrance, a door marked with strange symbols, glowing faintly. But before they could cross the threshold, the entity unleashed one final threat. Foolish girls. What lies beyond will twist you further than I ever could. There are more revelations awaiting you, more horrors hidden than you know. With one last collective breath, they sprinted toward the door, desperate to escape the malevolent grip, each heartbeat an echo in the void. Just as they reached it, the ground beneath them trembled violently, and the entity's laughter reverberated through the air, harsh and mocking. What awaited them on the other side, a paradise or a twisted nightmare? The world around them reeked of uncertainty as the door swung open, revealing a glimmer of hope combined with an undercurrent of dread. Are you ready for the truth? Sarah whispered, heart racing as they crossed the threshold. The shadows writhed behind them, a reminder of what they'd left and what could still consume them. But there was no turning back now. The moment they crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted drastically. They stumbled into a space so profoundly different from the chamber they had just escaped. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and ozone, prickling against their skin. Before them stretched a seemingly endless landscape cloaked in fog, illuminated by an eerie phosphorescent glow that pulsed rhythmically, like a distant heartbeat. Where are we? Jenna whispered, fear lacing her voice as she squinted into the haze. I don't know, Sarah replied, her pulse quickening. But we need to stay close. Whatever that thing was, it's not gone. It's watching. The unease gnawed at her gut, a familiar weight that had haunted her through her darkest moments. As they moved cautiously forward, shapes began to materialize from the fog, distorted figures flickering like flames in the wind. Shadows of people long gone, or maybe pieces of themselves they didn't recognize. Faces twisted in agony, their mouths whispered secrets, secrets that dripped like poison into their thoughts. Jenna's voice trembled as she clutched Sarah's arm tightly. Did you hear that? Yeah, it's like they're trying to tell us something. But what could they say? What could they warn against? The weight of so many truths was suffocating. Suddenly, the figures coalesced into a singular vision, a grotesque apparition resembling the entity from before, its eyes filled with a swirling malice. Welcome to your new hell. It bellowed, the voice a thunderous echo that shook the ground beneath their feet. Here, you swim in your regrets, drown in your shame. This is where fears are laid bare, without mercy or reprieve. No. Sarah shouted, eyes wide. Her heart raced as desperation fueled her. This isn't our truth. We're stronger than this. The apparition laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated around them. Stronger? It taunted. But what if I told you that you're not just defined by your past pains, but also by the fears you haven't faced? What if your darkest nightmares lie within your very souls, begging to be set free? Jenna faltered, her breathing ragged. Don't listen to it, Sarah. It's trying to twist our minds. But doubt crept in like a thief in the night. What if they hadn't truly escaped? What if this new realm was just a more insidious trap, a reflection of their own fears? Each decision you've made, each heartache you've buried, I hold the power to unleash it. The entity roared, fragments of their lives swirling around them, old betrayals, hidden doubts, failures that loomed like dark clouds. Visions flickered like movie reels, Sarah's broken friendship with Molly, Jenna's silence during those hardest nights, the things they wished they'd said but didn't. That with every image, the haze deepened, threatening to consume them. They began to feel cold, the isolation creeping back like an old friend. Focus. Sarah urged, shaking her head to clear the haze of regrets. We can't give in to this. Remember the light, remember our bond. As their hands clasped tighter in defiance, a flurry of warmth surged through their connected fingers. The phosphorescent glow intensified, wrapping around them. The figures in the fog began to recede, but not before one last echo pierced through their resolve, a familiar voice. Sarah, Jenna. It was Molly's voice, faint yet clear. Don't give up, don't forget Molly. Sarah cried out, the name a lifeline amidst despair. We'll find you. We'll make it through. But as they shouted, the fog swirled wildly, morphing into a cyclone of memories. The entity's laughter grew louder, reverberating louder, shaking their very core. Face your truths or be forever lost. It boomed, the threat palpable. The walls of the realm seemed to close in, and they knew they had to make a choice. Were they ready to confront everything they had tucked away? With newfound determination, Sarah turned to Jenna, their eyes locking. We have to move forward. Together. As they braced themselves, the world around them began to shatter, the visions morphing into fissures of light and darkness. Standing on the brink, a sense of urgency eclipsed everything. What awaits us beyond this? Can we face the truth we've avoided? The ominous clouds swirled, awaiting their answer. A single thought pierced through, the next step was crucial. Were they strong enough to embrace the storm? The ground trembled beneath them, and the swirling fog thickened, wrapping around their ankles like twisted vines. Each breath felt heavier, saturated with dread. Sarah closed her eyes, willing herself to recall their purpose. They had come so far. They couldn't turn back now. Hold on to me, Jenna. She shouted above the rising cacophony of memories, the echoes of failures, whispered betrayals, and the gut-wrenching longing for unspoken words. Jenna's grip tightened. I want to let go. We can do this, Sarah. We can fight it together. With determination surging through them, they pressed forward, stepping out of the icy grip of their pasts. The phantom voices morphed into a frenzy, a haunting choir that threatened to drown them in sorrow. You'll never escape, they wailed. You belong to us. But they couldn't allow that. Not now. The phosphorescent lights flickered, demanding their resolve. Just as they thought they were gaining ground, darkness lurched from the shadows, a mass of shadows, glaring eyes coalescing into one solid shape that towered above them like an ancient oak, monstrous and magnificent. Fools! The entity thundered, its voice dripping with venom. You're more transparent than you realize. Your path is carved by the very fears you seek to evade. Who are you? Jenna cried, her voice wavering but still fierce. What do you want from us? The apparition's face twisted into a cruel smile, teeth glimmering like daggers in the dark. What I need is simple. Allow yourselves to succumb to those secret fears and regrets, and I'll grant you peace. Your past may haunt you, but it will be no more if you simply embrace it. Peace. Sarah spat, recalling all the years she had spent running from her own demons. This is not peace, this is a trap. And we won't fall for it. Without warning, the shadows lunged, forming thick tendrils that crawled toward them. Panic surged in Jenna's eyes as one tendril found its way around her ankle, pulling her toward the darkness. Sarah! Help! She screamed, as the tendril tightened its grip. No! Sarah yelled, throwing herself forward. She grasped Jenna's arm, a surge of adrenaline washing over her. We're stronger than this. In that instant, Sarah felt an electric connection sparking between them. The glow pulsed brighter, throwing off the shadows that encroached upon them. Though fear throbbed in her chest, a flicker of hope ignited within her soul. Remember why we came. Remember Molly. We're fighting for each other. Sarah shouted, desperate to pull Jenna back from the brink. Right. For Molly. Jenna sank her fingers into Sarah's wrist, a lifeline. Drawing strength from one another, they steadied their breathing. The glow around them swelled with force, a protective aura that began to push back the tendrils. Molly needs us. Jenna shouted, firing up her defiance. With each moment, their voices intertwined, creating a cadence of courage that roared louder than the hostile voices surrounding them. The light wrapped tighter, illuminating the darkness, illuminating their deepest fears. The entity recoiled, hissed, lost its grip. "We will not be consumed," Sarah shouted, unyielding. As the last of the shadows retracted, they felt a rush of warmth. All at once, the heavy atmosphere shattered, and an opening formed in the fog, a pathway leading deeper into the unknown. "Is this it?" Jenna breathed, awe and terror mixing in her eyes. "Are we really breaking free? Or is it another illusion?" Sarah murmured, unsure whether to trust the light that beckoned them forward. They hesitated for a moment, staring into the swirling fog that thinned and twisted, revealing glimpses of what lay ahead, echoes of laughter, a scent of flowers, a flicker of familiarity. "Should we?" Jenna asked, glancing between the path and the dark remains of the entity. Something urgent tugged at Sarah's gut, an intuition that whatever lay ahead was a choice, not merely a chance. "Together," she urged. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." With a shared nod, they took a step into the light, not knowing if they would fall or fly, but as they pushed forward, a deeper darkness began to stir behind them, and with a bone-chilling whisper, the entity hissed, "You think this is over? You haven't faced your true trial yet." In that instant, Sarah felt the world tilt, a sense of foreboding washing over her. What if this light was merely the prelude to a storm even more devastating than the one they had just escaped? The shadows behind them roared, and the path shimmered with possibilities. What would they uncover in this new realm? Would the darkness find them again? They also knew, somewhere, that their journey was far from over. Light pulled at them, swirling in infectious warmth that begged them to run deeper into its embrace. But with every step, Sarah felt the weight of the shadows creep up her spine. She turned to Jenna, searching for reassurance in her friend's eyes. What if they had just traded one nightmare for another? "Are you ready?" Jenna asked, breathless. A gleam of excitement and fear mixed in her gaze. "Ready for anything," Sarah replied, but doubt lingered under her words. They pressed on, the path morphing around them. The fog receded, revealing a landscape both beautiful and eerie. Fields of flowers glistened in vibrant hues, but something felt off. Each bloom seemed to pulse, as if alive in ways that made Sarah shiver. The air was thick with a sweetness that burned at her throat, enticing yet suffocating. A forest loomed in the distance, its dark trunks jutting sharply into the sky. "Look over there," Jenna pointed, her voice breaking the spell of silence. "Is that a house?" Through the trees, a quaint cottage emerged, its wooden beams twisted in unnatural ways. It looked like it belonged in a storybook, yet a blood-red flicker from the windows cast a grim shadow over the facade. "Let's check it out," Jenna said, her eyes alight with curiosity. "Are you sure?" Sarah hesitated, the hairs on her arms rising in warning. "We've faced worse," Jenna argued, stepping forward. Sarah followed, heart racing, the haunted memories of the darkness still pressing against her. As they approached the house, the door swung open with a creak, revealing darkness beyond. Jenna peered inside, the glow from the room dim yet inviting. I think someone lives here," she whispered, voice barely a breath. The lights flickered again, shadows flickering like whispers against the walls. Sarah felt a pang of dread. What if it's another trap? Only one way to find out. Jenna pushed the door wider, and together, they stepped inside. The interior was strange, walls draped in tattered crimson fabric, and dusty furniture huddled against the walls like forgotten memories. A chilling breeze slithered around them, causing the lanterns to sway. "Anyone home?" Jenna called out, her voice trembling in the air. Silence answered. "Maybe it's empty," Sarah began, but then a rustling came from the back room. "Did you hear that?" Jenna gasped, backing closer to Sarah. Yeah, before they could react, a figure stepped out, a woman, pale and ethereal, with eyes that reflected the moonlight. "You shouldn't be here," she warned, her voice low and haunting, echoing as if coming from the walls themselves. "What do you mean?" Jenna challenged, taking a step forward. We're looking for answers. The woman tilted her head, a hint of knowing etched into her features. What you seek lies within your own souls. But be warned, the path is darker than you imagine. The ground trembled once more as the woman extended her arm, and black tendrils erupted from the shadows in the corners of the room. They twisted toward the girls, hissing with malice, as if sensing their deepest fears. Run! Sarah screamed, pulling Jenna back as the shadows surged, sharp tendrils reaching hungrily. Wait! Jenna pleaded, her eyes locked on the woman. What do you know about Molly? The figure hesitated, her features reflected with sorrow. The truth you seek is split across realms. To find her, you must face what you've buried in your hearts. With that, the shadows lunged. Sarah yanked Jenna away, the air thick with screams of despair as they sprinted back outside. The doors slammed shut behind them, an ominous finality echoing in their ears. The fog surged back, drowning their hopes as the cottage loomed menacingly behind. As they ran, Sarah felt chaos weave through her mind. The whispers returned, taunting, mocking. Will you surrender to your past and find peace? They chorused. Never. Sarah shouted defiantly. But doubt gnawed at her resolve. Ahead, a path split in two, one shrouded in darkness, the other bathed in blinding light. Each beckoned her, each promised something they needed. Which way, Sarah? Jenna panted, panic creeping into her voice. Sarah stood frozen, panic clawing at her insides. Something told her the decision here was crucial, perhaps the most dangerous choice they'd ever faced. As they hesitated, shadows swirled around them once more, whispering their worst fears, dark memories surfacing just beneath the skin. In the shadows lies what you truly fear. Which path would they take, and what truths awaited them on the other side? Would they finally confront their demons, or would the pull of the dark be too strong to resist? The air was thick with a weight that pressed down on Sarah and Jenna. They stood there, paralyzed between two paths, one cloaked in darkness, the other illuminated with a blinding light. Memories clawed at them, shadowy tendrils reaching into their hearts, igniting fear and doubt. We can't stay here, Jenna urged, looking over her shoulder as the shadows writhed. They're coming for us. Right, Sarah agreed, squeezing her friend's hand tightly, but her heart wavered. What if the light led to salvation, or was it merely another trap? We have to choose. We can't let fear decide for us. But with each flutter of doubt in Sarah's mind, the shadows grew bolder. Voices echoed, rising up like phantoms. Will you face what you've buried, or will you flee? They taunted, their sinister whispers crawling over her skin. Trust yourself. Jenna urged, her eyes wide with panic yet flickering with determination. Sarah could feel the power of their bond. Despite the chaos swirling around them, there was strength in togetherness, a reason to fight. I choose the light, Sarah finally said, the words falling out of her mouth like a desperate prayer. Let us go. They sprinted toward the beam of light, feeling the heat soak into their skin as they entered its warm embrace. With the shadows now a distant echo, a feeling of hope flickered within Sarah's chest. But the further they advanced, the more the light transformed. It began to flicker, struggling against the encroaching darkness that tried to re-ensnare them. Suddenly, they stumbled into a vast expanse, a meadow filled with iridescent flowers and glowing mist. It was beautiful, surreal even. But when they looked closer, they saw faces, twisted reflections of themselves tangled within the petals, spinning tales of sorrow and regret. What is this? Jenna breathed, stepping back, eyes wide in horror. The truth, Sarah whispered, absorbing the sight. Our truths. With every step, fragmented memories rushed to meet them. Moments of hurt and misunderstanding, screams of anger, soft cries of longing, ghosts of decisions they had made or avoided. It was too much, a kaleidoscope of pain they wanted to close themselves off from. Step back, Sarah. Jenna shouted, terror flaring in her eyes. We can't let it take us. We have to fight. But as much as Sarah wanted to resist, she felt a magnetic pull, as if each memory whispered sweet promises of understanding. Familiar voices called out, urging her to confront the truths buried deep within. They couldn't retreat, she couldn't. "Sarah, please." Jenna grabbed her arm. "We have to keep moving. We can't." Sarah's voice broke. "This is where I left Molly. I have to understand." Jenna hesitated, the conflict visible on her face. "But at what cost? We can't lose ourselves. We still have a chance to find her." "I won't falter," Sarah said, determination blooming in her gut. "If I have to face this alone, I will." "Together, then," Jenna said, stepping closer. "We face this together. Just like we always do." Together, they moved further into the meadow, the flowers shimmering under their tread. Each step revealed connections and hidden truths, the landscape morphing into memories from their past, a once-lost friend's laughter, missed chances, and paths not taken. Each feeling coiled tighter, threatening suffocation. Then, in a breathless moment, they saw her, Molly, standing at the edge of the meadow. A luminous figure caught in a beam of light, she looked real, but flickered like a mirage. "Don't let them take you, Sarah. Don't believe what they want. Stay strong." Jenna shouted, urging Sarah forward. "We're coming." But as they drew closer, the flowers began to twist, their petals curling into sharp thorns. Instinctively, they reached for each other, fingers intertwined, a lifeline in a tumultuous storm. "Focus on what we lived through, who we are together," Sarah called out, as the shadows roared in defiance. "Remember us," Jenna added, her voice cracking with emotion. "Remember our friendship." In that moment, the meadow erupted into chaos. The flowers shrieked with betrayal, darkness clawing at their bodies as memories became twisted specters armed with their deepest fears. But the bond they forged lit up like wildfire. With raw determination, they broke free from the grips of despair, overcoming the darkness attempts to hold them back. "We know who we are," Sarah screamed, her voice soaring above the dissonance. "And we'll find Molly no matter what." They pressed through the shimmering wall of light. Finally, the echoes fell silent, the meadow fading behind them as they plunged into an abyss filled with shimmering stars swirling around. They felt lighter with every desperate breath. As they settled in the calm, unfamiliar stillness, they could see it, a figure in the distance, short hair bouncing as she spun around. "Molly," they shouted, their hearts soaring with hope. But a tremor rippled around them. A shadow long and distorted surged forward, towering against the stars, an entity masked in the darkness they escaped. "Your trials are not yet over," it boomed, laughter echoing like thunder through the void. "Every truth uncovered carries the weight of consequence." The weight pressed down on them again, fear gnawing at their resolve. "We'll face it," Sarah shouted defiantly. "Together, we will unveil every truth." And in that moment of clarity, Sarah and Jenna, hand in hand, faced the shadows within and around them, ready to delve deeper into the truths waiting to be discovered. They breathed in the fear and exhaled determination, their bond a shield against whatever awaited in the unknown, emboldened by love, friendship, and the choice to embrace their truths. As shadows loomed closer, they were no longer just wanderers caught in the chaos, they were brave souls ready to reclaim their destinies. Understand this, your journey is only as dark as you allow it to be. Embrace your truth. Seek your light. Now, before the tale ends, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible end. Your true support makes all the difference. Let us spread the word together.